Everson Pereira provides an exciting and interesting bat for the Yankees to look at, and someone that is going to be a ton of fun to watch play because he's new and because he's somebody that the Yankees haven't seen before. The Yankees promoted him from AAA after playing a few games there. He only played 35 down there, and for context, Anthony Volpe had 99 plate appearances in AAA. Everson Pereira had 158, which is definitely more, and it's substantially more than what Volpe had, but it's certainly not a lot of action down there. So the Yankees are being extremely aggressive with this promotion, something that you don't typically see with the organization, something that they've kind of shied away from in recent years, but are starting to bring back, and that's their aggression with prospects. And if they do that, I think it'll yield good results for them. But in Everson Pereira's case, what does he do well? What does he do poorly? What reasons are there to believe that he could be a major league caliber guy? And what reasons are there to be concerned about his major league viability? We're going to talk about all of that and more, so stay tuned. And if you guys are interested in what we have going on here, make sure you guys follow Fireside Yankees on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. You guys know to like, comment, and subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Garcia ESM. But without further ado, let's get started by talking about what Everson Pereira did at the minor league level, just from a production basis. Now, 81 games down there between AA and AAA, 343 plate appearances, 18 home runs, 64 RBIs, 11 stolen bases. He slashed 300, 373, 548, and that's good for a 138 WRC plus, which is super impressive. This is a 22-year-old kid, so he's younger than most guys he's facing, not just at the AA level, but at the AAA level. He's facing a lot of guys who are former major leaguers or are guys working back into the major league fold. You see a lot of guys rehab there, so he faces tough competition pretty frequently. Most notably, recently he faced Tanner Houck of the Red Sox, who isn't a great major league pitcher, but he is a major league pitcher, so, definitely getting major league experience there. And while Everson Pereira is someone that struggles with whiff rates and struggles with his strikeout numbers, it seems like something you're going to have to work around instead of something that you have to actively combat. Now, you do want his whiff rates to come down, and that's something that you expect to happen as he gets better, but he is always going to run higher than average strikeout rates. That's just the hitter he is, and that's the style of baseball he plays. And in terms of hitting the ball really hard, he does it at a rate that should yield good major league results. When you look at all qualified hitters this season who have a max exit velocity at or above 114.5 miles per hour, every single one of them have a WRC plus at or above 103, which means the worst hitter in that group is still 3% better than the major league average. Now, there are guys who hit the ball hard who aren't qualified hitters, and so there are bad hitters who hit the ball hard, but typically speaking, hitting the ball hard yields good results. In terms of what Pereira's profile looks like, he hits the ball on average 92.8 miles per hour with a 45.8% hard hit rate, a 114.5 max exit velocity, and he also grades out extremely well in 90th percentile exit velocity. Now, what is 90th percentile exit velocity? That's the top 10% of your batted balls in terms of exit velocity, and in that regard, he excels. He's actually in the 94th percentile in that metric, and that's good because it means he's not just registering high exit velocities, but he's consistently getting to high exit velocities, and that's a really important thing when we're talking about what the Yankees are trying to do and what the Yankees are trying to accomplish with Everson Pereira, and that's getting a guy who can hit the ball consistently with great power and consistently give them the home runs that they haven't had at the left field position for a while now. They tried to go out and get it with Gallo. They tried to go more contact oriented with Benintendi. Neither situation really worked out for them. Benintendi got hurt, Gallo really struggled, and it's something that they've struggled with really for the last 3 years. So if Everson Pereira can provide them with a batted ball profile that yields great results on the field and mainly in the power department, they're going to have a really good player that produces not just in the regular season, but also helps them get closer to their hopes of winning their 28th World Series title. Now, in terms of swing decisions, Everson Pereira is super aggressive in the strike zone. He swings in zone a lot, and that's a good thing. But he also had a chase issue that got better throughout the season, and so you anticipate that he's going to be able to walk enough to have his OBP not completely tank. And he's also a guy who's hit for a really high average. He's BABIPing a lot this year at a high clip, but that's kind of historically what he's been able to do. And part of that is poor defense at the minor league level, and part of that is also the fact that he hits the ball so hard that it's easy for him to BABIP at a high clip. And if he's hitting line drives and if he's generating sweet spots, this is going to be a guy who ranks in the top percentiles in terms of BABIP. And for a lot of fans, it's going to be refreshing to have a guy who can consistently hit for a high average. It's going to come with strikeouts, but it's also going to come with power. So you anticipate that that profile, while it has its flaws and while it has its pros, is going to be something that can eventually become a really good player. But let's evaluate some of the outcomes that we could be looking at here in terms of what Everson Pereira can become at the plate. Now, a pretty realistic outcome in my mind that's still an optimistic one would be the outcome of Teoscar Hernandez. Now, Teoscar Hernandez spent a lot of time with the Toronto Blue Jays, first came up with the Houston Astros, was traded at the 2017 deadline, and then was traded in the 2022 offseason to the Seattle Mariners. In his first few years in the league, so his age is 23, 24, 25, and 26 season between 2016 and 2019, he had a 237 average with a 304 on base percentage and a 476 slugging percentage. He had a 106 WRC plus, struck out 31.8% of the time, and walked 8.6% of the time with 60 home runs in 327 games. Now, Pereira is a better defender than Teoscar Hernandez is, and both are similar in speed, but Hernandez was never a great base runner. You kind of hope that Pereira is a better base runner than that. But overall, Hernandez was a pretty solid hitter, but not a great one, who struggled with average and on-base percentage when he first came up, and also wasn't always healthy. He had never played over 134 games in that time span, and in 2019 specifically, he only played 125 games, so just like Pereira, there also were some injury concerns. But then looking at the 2020 season, Hernandez has a 142 WRC plus, and then for the next 3 seasons following between 2020 and 2022, he averaged a 132 WRC plus, hit 283 with a 333 on base, 519 slugging, a 6.3% walk rate, and a 27.2% strikeout rate, really becoming one of the best and most feared right-handed hitters in the American League. And that's what you hope Pereira can become. There are two tales in that story. There are two tales in that career, and that's the one where he's an okay player, and then the one where he's a definitively very good one. And for Everson Pereira, it's going to rely on BABIP the same way that Teoscar Hernandez is. If Everson Pereira comes up and he hits 250 versus hits 280, that's going to create a massive difference in the outcomes. And while average isn't the most telling stats in terms of offensive production, it does allow us to create the floor and the ceiling for someone's OBP. And for someone like Pereira, who we know is not going to walk a ton, that average becomes a lot more important. It also helps improve the slugging percentage and overall helps the offensive profile. As a whole, I think this is a pretty good comparison for Pereira, and as for a pretty pessimistic one, I think it's Franchy Cordero. Franchy Cordero absolutely destroys the baseball, struggles with plate discipline, and has never been a consistent major league player because of it. So with that being said, I hope that we covered all of the things that you wanted to hear about when it comes to Everson Pereira, and I hope you guys are just as excited as I am. I'm Ryan Garcia. You guys can check me out at Ryan Garcia ESM. You know to follow Fireside Yankees on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.